Welcome to Beer and Iron, where we talk about real cast iron cooking and share recipes with beer as an ingredient. Grab a beer, set that cast iron on the heat, and prepare to flip your expectations. We're serving up tales and recipes that are well seasoned and never half-baked. This is where the good stories live. I'm Sulae, skillet scribe and sizzle sage, here to share a story, cook something worth eating, and bring the yum back to your plate. Back in the late 1970s, Salisbury steak wasn't something you cooked. It was something you opened like a promise. "Daddy, how much longer?" He'd pull those silver-covered trays from the freezer and set them in the oven. I wasn't sure how long ago it was, but it didn't matter. I trusted it would all be okay and ran off to play outside in whatever light was left of the day. It wasn't really a question. It was a confirmation of trust, an assurance rooted in routine. It wasn't if the meal would come, only when, and it always did. Dinner at Daddy's sometimes arrived in a foil TV tray, puffed up with heat like it had been holding its breath. Peeling it back felt important, like lifting the lid that released heat and certainty. The steak was compact and oval, the gravy determined to explore the entire tray, and the mashed potatoes were already leaning into the next compartment like they misunderstood the concept of borders. Dinner at Daddy's always came with a question. "Did you wash your hands?" And before I could answer, he'd say, "I still see dirt under those fingernails." Those Salisbury steak dinners had no mushrooms, no garnish, no interpretation. Just meat, gravy, potatoes, and maybe corn or peas. Mostly staying where they were told to. Mostly. And somehow that was comforting. No decisions required. Dinner had routine. Dinner was handled. I trusted this would happen each evening, an unconscious kind of trust that wasn't questioned or made contingent on anything else. It just was. Dinner always showed up. The waiting worked because someone else had it handled. We'd set those trays on folding TV tables and ate in front of whatever was on the TV that night. Maybe the Dukes of Hazzard. Yeehaw! Maybe the Incredible Hulk. Praying, please, not the evening news.
Good evening.
Those TV trays wobbled if you leaned on them too much, but you learned quickly where to put your elbows. TV tray eating skills no one thought to write down. The oven always seemed like it took forever, but that was part of the ritual. Waiting made it feel like something important was about to happen, even if what was happening was just Salisbury steak heating up in an aluminum tray, taking its time. And honestly, I liked it. It tasted like routine, like stability, like knowing dinner would be exactly what it said it was, even when other things weren't. 45 years later, the scene looks different. The feeling doesn't. Certainty used to arrive for me. Now it comes from me. I used to be the boy waiting for dinner. Now I'm the one making the world feel predictable for someone else. I'm sitting cross-legged on a flat stone in front of a fire. Boots are dusted with ash. A cold beer sweating in my hand. The fire crackles from split logs, arranged like old friends leaning on one another for warmth. Smoke curls upwards in lazy spirals, carrying the scent of pine and charred oak into the quiet canopy. I'm making Salisbury steak for myself and my family. And my camp cast iron Dutch oven. My Dutch oven, seasoned like a family elder, sits preheating with the patience of a monk. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to. This old pot likely saw the light of day around the same time I was peeling back the foil on those TV dinners. Black with seasoning, steady and unbothered, the kind of thing that outlasts trends and most excuses. This is its domain. The fire ring, the forest, the ritual. Another sip. The beer tastes richer as the nearby field drifts alive with fireflies. The evening deepens with the snap of sap in the firewood and the low greeting of an owl at dusk, just before the night folds itself over the field and forest. There is nothing predictable about this evening, but there is a promise. The Dutch oven isn't just cookware, it's a promise of stew thick enough to stand a spoon in, of cornbread with a crust that could hold its own in a fist fight, of flavors born from smoke, patience, and a little dirt under the fingernails. This meal will be born of iron, not aluminum, cooked in something meant to last, not thrown away. I drop the meatballs into the hot butter and listen to the sizzle. Each one browns without sticking, leaving just enough of itself behind to build flavor. Somewhere along the way, cooking stopped being something that arrived and became something I took part in. I don't remember when that shift happened. I only know that it did. Mushrooms go in next, dry at first like fallen leaves. They hiss as their moisture releases, loosening up the brown bits left behind by the meatballs and pulling that flavor back into the dish. The mushrooms soften, they darken, and they sizzle more. And now something richer takes over. The smell is deep and familiar, earthy and warm, like the forest after a rain, only more deliberate. It's the kind of smell that doesn't ask questions. It just shows up and settles in. This recipe is a bridge between who I was, who I am, and the stories I carry. This is my version of Salisbury steak. Smashed Salisbury Steak Meatballs with beer and mushroom gravy. It's comfort food with depth and soul, something cast iron and open flame can provide. It carries the flavor of nostalgia and a moment of peace, if only briefly. We know the world isn't stable as a TV dinner once felt, or assured as a cast iron Dutch oven. But for now, others are asking me to make it feel safe, make it secure, make it comfortable, make it predictable. They're counting on me to get it right. I add the flour, the broth, the beer. The gravy comes together slowly, not poured from a packet. It spreads where it wants, and it thickens when it's ready. And yes, it still goes everywhere. Some things never change. But I pay attention now, because if I don't, dinner's going to let me know. This version of Salisbury steak takes about as long to cook as the old TV dinners took to warm up. Different process, but the same clock. The difference is what happens while you wait. Because somewhere between the meat and the gravy, between the crackle of the fire and the weight of the pot, something familiar sneaks in. The smell hits just right. Rich, savory, unmistakable. And for a moment, I'm not in the woods anymore. I'm back at that folding TV tray, trying to figure out where to put my elbows. The potatoes are misbehaving, and the gravy has crossed the line. Behind me now, these years later, there's someone else waiting. His small voice asks, "Daddy, how much longer?" He's not rushing. He's really saying, "Daddy, I'm glad for this moment, and I hope it lasts forever." He doesn't doubt the process. It's not really a question. It wasn't if the meal would come, only when, and it always does. It's a trust given freely. An inherited trust that comes when someone creates a world full of predictability around you. A trust solid enough to run off even before the answer. Run off to the field to chase fireflies and kick dandelions in whatever light was left of the day. His plate sits on the camp table, catching sparks of firelight, ready for whatever certainty I put in it. For tonight, comfort is served. All is right with the world, at least for now. Okay, y'all, let's make it. I start the way I always do, by paying attention and settling in. If you've got your cast iron heating up and a cold beer in your hand, you're already doing this right. I'm going to walk you through this recipe the same way I make it, unhurried, familiar, and meant to bring people together. This recipe will cook just fine in a 10-inch or 12-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven over coals, or in a 5 or 7-quart Dutch oven over the stove. Even a large or deep covered skillet will work too. Every good meal starts the same way, before the fire, before the heat, before anything gets rushed. I get everything ready first, so when the heat is just right, it's showtime and not scramble time. Ground beef in one bowl, breadcrumbs measured in another, milk and eggs at the ready, onions chopped, mushrooms sliced, broth, beer, Worcestershire, all within reach. I like everything waiting on me and not the other way around. Nothing spoils a Dutch oven cook or a perfectly good beer like racing the fire. When the briquettes are glowing and at the ready, and you're still chopping onions, that perfect heat will slip away. I've done it, and you've done it. It's not the mood we're after. This recipe has 2 parts, the meatballs and the beer and mushroom gravy that brings everything together. We're going to start with the meatballs. Not too big, not too small. About 1 to 2 inches, just big enough to have some presence, and just small enough to cook through gently in the gravy. Mix the beef with the breadcrumbs, milk, eggs, onion, garlic, Worcestershire sauce, dry mustard, salt, and pepper. Don't overwork it. You're aiming for tender, not tough. Once it's combined, shape them and gently flatten them. About as thick as your pinky finger is wide. Think little oval round steaks, not meatball spheres. That shape matters. When I first started working on this recipe, I wanted straight up Salisbury steak meatballs. Turns out Salisbury steak isn't round, and it needs a good sear, and that softer Salisbury steak mixture doesn't behave like spaghetti night meatballs. Sure, there are recipes out there that promise Salisbury steak meatballs. Technically true, but when does your plate ever look like their final plate in the photos on those recipe sites? You get it, you're my people. Most attempts at searing meatballs leave you with 1 or 2 caramelized areas of the meatball, and the rest questionable. You roll them, they roll back. Searing meatballs is like supervising a room full of toddlers. Everything looks fine until you realize something sticky and irreversible has already happened. I noticed the meat mixture naturally wanted to flatten out where it hit the hot pot anyway. That's when it clicked. Don't fight 'em, smash 'em. So we make small smashed meatballs like tiny little Salisbury steaks. Now heat the butter in your Dutch oven. How much butter? Enough to matter. No less than 2 tablespoons, I would say. In this case, less is not better, and more is fixable. Start with 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter if you want. If it's too much, just blot a little out with a paper towel. Too little butter will disappear fast once the first side of those meatballs sears, and then the pot runs dry when it's time to turn them. You can add more, but it's better not to chase it. Once the butter starts to get that rusty, toasted color, add the meatballs. Don't crowd the pot. You want browning, that caramelized crust that says, yes, this is going somewhere good. Let them color up for a couple of minutes on each side, and then pull them out and set them in a nearby container or another Dutch oven to keep warm. They're not done yet, but they're right where they need to be. So no sampling. Same pot, same heat, now the mushrooms go in. They'll hiss as their moisture releases, that deep, earthy smell filling up the space. Let them cook down and pick up some color. Let their moisture deglaze that pot. When they're ready, sprinkle in the flour and stir constantly for about a minute. Don't walk away here. You want the flour to absorb the mushroom's moisture and to cook out that raw flour taste. Now pour in the beef broth and the beer. A stout works great here, but keep it purposeful. Nothing sweet, low bitterness. This isn't a place for the hops to show off. A smooth lager works fine too, even a simple red or an amber. Think balanced, think supportive. Whisk it together and let the gravy come to life. It'll thicken, deepen, and suddenly smell like dinner. Once the gravy looks right, slide the meatballs gently back into the pot, nestling them into that rich sauce. Cover it up and let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes, long enough for the meatballs to finish cooking and that gravy to turn velvety. From there, serve it over something soft and comforting. Mashed potatoes, rice, buttered noodles. Let the gravy do what gravy does. A little parsley on top if you're feeling generous. And that's it. Easy to cook, easy to love, and it holds up just as well by the fire as it does in a quiet or bustling kitchen. If you want the exact measurements and printable recipe, head over to the site beerandiron.com. It's all there waiting on you. And this one is worth coming back to, and you will. And there you go. Smashed Salisbury steak meatballs with beer and mushroom gravy. yours to try and enjoy. Now, y'all don't be strangers. Y'all let me know how yours turns out at beerandiron.com and join the conversation. Remember, at Beer and Iron, if you spill beer, just call it marinade. Now, y'all keep the tradition sizzling and the stories pouring. We'll see you next time at beerandiron.com.